My notes on for why we struggled in the second half. Well, Dawson Garcia and others from Minnesota, they started to work in the mid-range, which is actually an area that Penn State has defended very weakly. You look at our opponent heat maps, and you see opponents are actually shooting surprisingly well from mid-range against us, and maybe Minnesota noticed that and made a perfect adjustment, told their guys, hey, they're going to let you shoot mid-range, and Minnesota, with the way they moved the ball, they got open looks and were hitting them. They found some holes near the basket. The defense was no longer getting turnovers. Minnesota continued to pass the ball really well. Our offense disappeared. Our ball movement halted, and our game became all from the dribble at that point. Remember in the first half I was saying, we weren't looking for stuff off the dribble. We were passing it, finding open shooters. Yeah. That stopped. It became, let's have Clary dribble around a while and then miss an open layup. Or open layup. Highly contested layup.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that a few times this year.
Yeah. Hicks wasn't great. Clary couldn't make a shot. He was 3 for 12 in this game. Hicks wasn't great, but him and Baldwin made a few shots late that brought us back to being tied with just under 3 minutes left. Then we had missed free throws. We had injuries to Clary and Kern, and that ultimately killed our chances. Minnesota shot 88% from the line. We only shot 72%. We shot 1 of 9 from 3 in the second half. Kasey already mentioned that. Then you look and you see Qudus Wahab and Demetrius Lilly only took 14 shots combined in this game. Almost all of those were in the first half. I think 12 of those 14 were in the first half. So it just makes you question the mentality and the strategy for this team in the second half. All year this team has been crazily inconsistent. So much so that it doesn't even make sense. But in this game, you obviously had a strategy that was working, and you go away from it, and you let Minnesota control the pace early in the second half, and we never got that momentum back.
Yeah. I mean, and that's you said it. This is a wildly inconsistent Penn State team. That's the reality, Sometimes that's good. Sometimes they can knock your socks off and beat number 11 Wisconsin. And sometimes that's bad, and they can lose to Bucknell, and they can lose to Minnesota. Giving Minnesota a little credit, they are a better team, I think, than maybe we, compared to what they have been certainly in the Big Ten the past couple of years. They're at least kind of working their way up. Now, do I think Penn State still probably should have won this game, particularly at home? Yes, especially being up 14 at halftime. You can't be one team in the first half and be a completely different team in the second half. You can't.
Can we talk about the inconsistency stuff? Because, you mentioned that Wisconsin game. I believe that is the only game all season long that we have played a full 2 halves, a full 40 minutes.
I would agree with that.
The coaching staff is really good at making adjustments. Okay, if we're down at halftime, those guys can look at the things that we need to fix, and they will make the proper adjustments, and we'll look better in the second half. We've seen that several times, whether it's a comeback against Maryland, comeback against GT, comeback against Ohio State and Michigan, comeback against Northwestern. Several times this season we've been down at halftime. The coaching staff has made fantastic adjustments, whether it's in our lineups or our strategy or whatever. They have made the proper adjustments and we've come back. We haven't won all those games, but they've been close, and no matter what, we've just improved a lot in the second half. However, when you're up at halftime, like in this game, you're up 14 at halftime. Oh, what adjustments do you make there? You're like, keep playing good, boys. Now there's no energy because you're not firing up your squad at halftime. You're telling them to ride it out.
Yeah.
And that's what it sure feels like with this team. It feels like, hey, let's just ride the gas instead of we're going to keep the pedal to the metal.